A CEO builds a company to millions, maybe even billions. They lead the organization. They sit at the head of the table. And still, they quietly are overpowered inside their own leadership team. Not by the market, not by the competitors, by the people sitting right next to them. And the most important part, they weren't told it was happening, and they didn't act. Welcome to the Kathie Owen Perspective. My name is Kathie Owen. I work with leaders and organizations during high-pressure moments, mergers and acquisitions, growth, transition, and what I observe is not just strategy, it's behavior. Because behavior, especially under pressure, is what actually determines outcomes. And today, I'm going to walk you through a pattern that quietly takes leaders out, even when everything looks successful on the surface. An advisor sat down with the CEO and told him directly, "Your chief operating officer is bullying you and your team. They're bullying me. And if you're honest, they are bullying you." And the CEO responded, "Who do they bully?" That moment matters because the issue was not hidden. It was visible. It was felt. It had already been named, but it wasn't recognized for what it actually was. This wasn't a culture issue. This was a power pattern. Here's what was happening in real time. One person controlled the room through pressure. Others adapted to that pressure. And the CEO adjusted instead of correcting. And the moment a leader starts adjusting around behavior, they've already lost position, not visibly, but structurally. This is exactly what I look for when I'm inside leadership teams. Not what people say, what actually happens. I watch for who interrupts and who gets interrupted, whose tone shifts the room, who people adjust around, what goes unchallenged, because that's where the signal lives. Not in reports, not in metrics, in human behavior. You don't have to be in a boardroom to recognize this. Start with one question. Who is the room organizing itself around? Watch what happens. Do conversations change when one person speaks? Do people hold back? Do decisions shift under pressure? If they do, you're not looking at leadership. You're looking at control. The CEO I talked about at the beginning did not act. Not because he was not capable, because the pattern had become normal. And when something becomes normal, you stop questioning it. You start working around it. You no longer see it clearly, even when someone points directly at it. And this is the part most people underestimate. Just because something is clearly seen, just because it's clearly named, does not mean the outcome changes. The advisor did their job. They made the pattern visible. At that point, it becomes a leadership decision. And when leadership does not act, the system does not pause. It continues. Let me ground this in something I've seen directly. I've worked inside an organization where this exact pattern was happening in real time. The behavior was visible. It was felt across the entire team, from the top to the bottom, and it was clearly named, but it wasn't addressed. The CEO did not act on it, and over time began adjusting to it. And when that happens, the pattern does not stabilize, it expands. And what starts as behavior at the top becomes structure across the business. You begin to see a loss of psychological safety, breakdowns in communication, people withholding instead of contributing, and decisions being shaped by pressure instead of clarity. And over time, that affects execution. It affects trust. And ultimately, it affects enterprise value. I've watched this play out over years, and the outcome is always the same. When the pattern is clearly seen, clearly named, and not acted on, the system does not correct itself. It resolves itself through consequence. In the CEO's case that we've talked about here, the board stepped in. He was exited, and the culture had fractured so deeply, there was no cohesion left, no alignment, no real respect in the system he built. That doesn't happen suddenly. That happens over time. Here's how you interrupt this pattern early. Number 1, do not normalize pressure-based control. If someone consistently dominates conversations, creates tension, controls outcomes through pressure, that's not leadership. That's a system risk. Number 2, address behavior in real time. Not later, not after the meeting, in the moment. That's not how we operate here. Clear, calm, and direct. Number 3, watch what you are adjusting around. This is the biggest signal. The moment you start avoiding someone, reshaping conversations, softening your position, that's the pattern. Number 4, take the signal seriously when it's named. If someone says something is off here, pause, look, because that moment, that's usually the cleanest chance to correct it. The signal was there. It was visible. It was named. It was clear, but it was not acted on. And eventually, the system resolved itself, just not in the CEO's favor. I've seen this pattern more than once. It always feels manageable in the moment until it isn't. If you want to go deeper on this, I wrote a full article breaking it down, and the link is in the show notes and description below. Also, I've included a link to the LinkedIn post that was written on this by the advisor herself that saw this happen, probably many, many times. You can find that in the show notes and description below. And if you're leading a team, a company, or navigating pressure, this is the work, seeing clearly before the cost shows up. All right, that's my episode for today. I trust that you found it helpful. And if you know someone, like a leader or a team, who could benefit from this, please share it with them. And until next time, I'll see you next time on the Kathie Owen Perspective.